All right, so I'm Bobby Lee from Hurricane Creek Farms. Today we're going to do a quick video on building a cattle mineral feeder. As you can see, one that we just finished a couple days ago right there behind me. We kind of walk you through that. I think it's a relatively simple build. I'm by no means a very skilled carpenter, and something I think I can do pretty easily. It took me about 2 hours, I think, the other day to put this one together. Built one very similar a couple of years ago. I've been using it for that period of time now. I've been really happy with it, so felt like, hey, we can make a few more of these and then make a video for YouTube. But basically just using 4x4s for our frame and both the base, or the box where the mineral actually goes is 2x6s and a 3/4 inch thick sheet of plywood. We do use these little brackets on the feet to kind of help stabilize that. Our tin actually here is just some we repurposed. You can certainly get fancier with that than what we have done, but the application we're using, it works very well. But basic simple tools we do, I guess you need you got a circular saw to make your cuts on your boards. We actually do use a chainsaw on the 4x4s. Little hand drill, got one, over on the ground somewhere. Just pretty basic tools that I think most people may have access to. But anyway, we'll go through that and kind of show you how we built it. Okay, and so I guess talk a little more about dimensions, which of course you can always customize this, but for what we're doing, our 4x4s conveniently are all end up being 5 feet long, 60 inches. So both for the base and the frame going upwards. So we bought just 3 10-foot 4x4s. We're gonna cut them exactly in half and get started. I guess I should mention too that the kind of the capacity on this thing once it is built, because again we do have one just like we've been using for a couple of years. It'll hold right at 100 pounds of loose mineral. So something like that we fit out of bags. I also oftentimes throw a block in there too, just one of the 50-pound blocks. That way if they ever do run out of loose mineral, they've always got the block they can still lick on. But anyway, that's kind of a side note. But yes, capacity on this thing is that it should hold right at 100 pounds of loose mineral. All right, so as we get ready to set our first 4x4 on there, going up for the frame, we set that post 14 inches in. Of course, this is just dimensions that have worked for us. I've gone ahead and secured it there with just a couple of screws and one of those little brackets. We'll go ahead and we'll put a couple more screws in each of those, and then we'll also secure it with a couple of screws down through there. And then we'll repeat that, times 4. And then we'll probably go and move on to building the box. All right, so you can see there we got all the legs on. I guess I should point out, back to materials, we're using a 3 1/8 inch decking screw there. I think you can use one, certainly a 3 1/4, 3 1/2 inch long. Not gonna make a big difference. I think that's plenty long enough right there. You could probably go a little shorter and still be fine. But anyway, got that done, and now we're gonna build the box and show you how we do that step. I guess one other thing we should point out, so our box is going to measure 21 inches by 48 inches. So conveniently, of course, this is a 4x8 sheet of plywood. So we've already got our 48. We've measured across 21. We'll make our cut right across there. And we've got the base of the floor for the box. All right, so now I have my 48 by 21 piece of 3/4 inch plywood, excuse me. Have two 48 inch long 2x6s, two 18 inch 2x6s. We'll fashion them like so, and then using those same screws, place this on top, and screws down through them, make that secure. Then we have our box, then we're ready to frame it up and put it on the leg. All right, and so there's our completed box. Got it secured with screws, on each end, connecting the shorter 2x6 to the long one. Got the screws going through the bottom of it, securing it to them. So I got that set and ready to go. Our next step will be putting these 2x4s here on the legs. We've got the bottom of the box on this other one right at 2 feet off the ground. I mean, that's kind of I guess an arbitrary, number or height. I think it works well for, again, the animals that we're using it with. If you're, of course, doing some other species, a smaller ruminant, or, maybe you have, smaller calves, whatever, you may adjust that, obviously, very easy. You can kind of customize this however you want it. It's one of the nice things about it. We're going to cut those 2x4s, mount them across there, and then get ready to set the box in. Then we'll just have the roof to finish wrapping up. It's a good time to remind you, we appreciate you hitting the like button, and also subscribing to our channel. We do a few DIY projects kind of like this, and a lot of just general farm videos revolving around our cattle and other sorts of things. But let's get back to it. All right, so we cut our 2x4s and mounted them on there. Grab a tape measure. I believe it's exactly 23.5 or so inches to the top of them. Yes, right on it there. So 23.5 inches. Got those secured. Got from the inside of post to post 21 inches, so the box should fit just perfect. And then there, get it centered, and show you how we secure it to the frame. And you may wonder, how precise we're worried about being on everything being perfectly level. And we're not being extremely. It's coming out really good, I think. But remember, this is going out in the pasture. It's just we're going to set it, wherever in a good spot where we think these animals should be. Get their mineral, on unlevel ground, and so not being completely, obsessive about making sure everything's perfectly level, perfectly straight. And certainly if there's a perfectionist out there watching this, I may be driving them insane, but obviously you're free to be as much more precise as you choose to be. But anyway, all right, so now we're getting ready to secure the box on there. We've got it centered. I went ahead and did just put one of those same screws in each one. But when it comes right here, this may be a little bit overkill, but I believe if something's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. So we're actually going to secure the box to these posts with these 5/16 by 3.5 inch galvanized lag screws. Galvanized because, of course, this is going to have salt in it. Make it just hold up and last a little longer. But the first thing we're going to do, that's 5/16 screw. We're going to drill a 1/4 inch pilot hole. Then we'll secure each one of these. So there'll be, I guess, a total of 12 of these. Anyway, then this will be down to just like the roof, more or less. Which right now, I'm going to point out, I guess talking about cost. Just while I'm thinking about it, I believe we're going to have total cost, because we are repurposing like our tin and a few other things, and materials between $100 and $125. And right now materials are high. It's December 2020, actually, day after Christmas. But of course, those of us that are watching this soon after we post it know what times we're living in. But hopefully, some of you are watching this 3 or 4 years from now and don't, it's a long distant memory about the year of coronavirus and COVID, but building materials apparently for the last several months have been just outrageously expensive. I think it's may have even gone back to when everybody was on lockdown and stuck at home. They were doing a lot of home projects and building decks, or I don't know, maybe building mineral feeders. But anyway, about $100 to $125 with materials really at an all-time high. So I think you can, of course, I don't know of any commercially made feeders that are real similar to this, but using this in place of some of the ones you can buy at your farm store, most of them are running like $250 to $300. So they're, I think these are pretty well built. They should last, and for less than half the cost, maybe a third of the cost, what you would spend buying one. But anyway, we'll get back at it. All right, so that has the box completely secured. 3 lag screws into each post. So now we're just going to frame up around here where we will attach our tin, put our roof on. All right, so now we got the roof, the top all framed up. Its overall dimensions are 66 by 32. So we got, these boards are cut right at 66 inches on each side, and then we've got 4 that are cut at 29 inches to span across there, and just secured them with those same screws, just like we've been doing everything else. So we've got that ready to go. Of course, it's just going to be a completely flat roof. Now we're going to go find us some tin, which this is probably the one part of the project where you could get a little fancier, a little nicer, do things a little more differently. We're just putting that flat sheet of tin on there. As you can see there, we actually used 2 pieces there, overlap to make them fit. But if I was going to be using this like for horses, I would probably come up with a different way to do that. So just potentially, any of you that have horses know they pretty much spend their entire lives looking for new ways to get cut and hurt on things. So for the cows, especially the mid-shorter animals, I've yet, knock on wood, to have one get cut or hurt themselves. We'll do that, show you how we kind of fasten the tin to the roof, and then it's pretty much project completed. All right, so now we're getting down to the final step. We are repurposing some tin, and I didn't have any pieces wide enough, and so I've actually got 2 pieces you can see there kind of overlap. We'll make it work. It's not going to be beauty, but we're certainly going for function over beauty. It's not going to be beautiful. I think overall length we're 68 inches long, so just about an inch overhang on each end. Got a little overhang on each side, closer to like 3 inches, just based on how we need those ribs to line up and whatnot to make it work. Certainly you could, if you did want something to look a little more perfect, you could get some tin that actually looked a little better. You can shape a piece of edges a little better where you didn't have the sharp and risk of potentially cutting an animal. And two, I should point out, we're securing the tin up there with these hex head screws with a little neoprene washer. So yeah, look like that. Of course, fastening them on with the DeWalt. And of course, we'll run them all down through there. Probably end up, again, overkill. Didn't put more than we need, but get that tin secured, and then we're pretty much gonna be down to cleanup. All right, so the roof has now been secured with all those screws with little rubber and neoprene washers. That's basically project completed. Just need to get it moved to the pasture, get a little mineral in it, and it's ready to go. If I was going to critique this exact design, because again we do have one we've had in use for about 2 years, probably number one, it's heavy, which is good and bad, but you want to put this pretty much in a spot where you plan on leaving it for a while. Obviously, you can move it, but it pretty much takes a couple of people to move one. You're going to want to put it on a trailer, not necessarily made to be dragged behind an ATV or anything. Is it wide enough? Because right now where we have one, it's where we run some stocker calves, and so they're about like teenage boys. They can get a little rambunctious, just love to turn feed bunks over. They actually turned the feeder over once, but in 2 years, I didn't figure that was too bad, not considering, though they try to mess with everything like that. But yeah, we'll see how long they last. I really expect to shoot a while on this. Animals just get really rough. Well, appreciate your feedback. If you got any questions about anything we left out, drop it in the comments. As always, we appreciate you giving the video a thumbs up, hitting the subscribe button, and as always, remind you to eat beef and God bless.